Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to a full year love romance reading for the year 2026, where we are going to be going over every single month for the next 12 months. We're going to do a 12-month reading for love and relationships. Those people of you who are in relationships, we're going to talk about that, and out of relationships. And for those of you who are single and looking to date and move forward, we're going to talk about you as well. So what I am doing here is I'm going to take a tarot deck that is called the Yokai Tarot. This is a deck based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So we're going to have the same interpretations, but it has pretty Japanese mythological figures on it. So while we talk the Rider-Waite-Smith, you'll get to have some cool depictions here. But this is not the only deck that I'm going to be laying out. I'm going to be using an alternative deck that is called the Dark Fantasy Tarot, just to get a little bit more energy from each of the months, a little bit more clarification kind of thing. And as much as you have an overview right now, you are also going to see a zoomed in, nice and close look at each of these cards. That way you guys can see exactly what pictures are on the front. It's not far away and blurry. It looks like that a little bit now because we are far away, but we will zoom in nice and close. And this is the layout. So it's going to be January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Those are the months we're going to go over. Here is my other deck that I will bring that out in a moment. And this is going to be a reading that has timestamps in the description. If you ever want to check out a certain month in the future, open up the description or go into the comments below the video, and I will put the timestamps for each month in case you want to rewatch this video in the future, because this is going to be an hour long. We're going over 12 whole months, so it is going to be lengthy. And maybe in the event that you are here, say in the month of May, and you want to rewatch it, it'll be really easy for you to click on the May button and find your way to exactly what month you want to. So with all of that being said, let me grab my pen, my paper, and I'm going to write down the timestamps. We are at the 2 minutes and 18 second mark, starting for the month of January. Capricorns, let's zoom in. For the month of January, the energy that you have is a beautiful dynamic of the Three of Wands. The reason that I say that this is such a beautiful dynamic is because it's in the upright position, where this card, it ends up being like a fire has been lit under your ass. I say that, all jokes aside, though, in the sense that a person stands in their personal power with a lot of motivation when this card comes up. And we can break that up for people who are in relationships and people who are separated. But you notice on this card, before we go into that route, you notice on this card, there are ships that are in front of him. See those ships? That's because he's looking at his goal. For some of you, your goal is going to be different. Your goal could be to solidify in a relationship. You might be wanting to solidify your relationship with the person you're with. Maybe there was some distance between you or some rocky energy. And you're like looking at this person as if to say that you, my spouse, you are my goal. I want us to come together. And I say that because in history, the Three of Wands card, it was connected with the energy of the prior card, the Two of Wands. And you know, I like to get into history when we do these readings here. And that Two of Wands card was likened to Alexander the Great. In history, Arthur Edward Waite, who created the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which this deck is based off of, he mentioned that the Two of Wands is almost like Alexander the Great going off to conquer, going after what it is that he truly wants. But first, before he gets that, which is in the Four of Wands, first he has to plan it out in the Three of Wands. He has to stand firm in his beliefs and say, I know I can do this. I know that this is what I want. You are what I want. And then you set yourself up for what it is that you want, right? Now, notice the Nine of Cups we just pulled out. This is the clarification card for that other deck, right? Nine of Cups is wish fulfillment. It is immediately telling me what it is you have your eyes on, you are going to get. That gold that's in that ship, see those little ships again? In a modern way, we can look at it as if it's our goal. But in a historical sense, when Arthur Edward Waite was speaking about the Three of Wands in connection with people like Alexander the Great, what was on a ship or a pirate ship or vessel was gold. It was your loot, your booty, the thing that you wanted, that all the other pirates were trying to get after, right? We can take that metaphor and we can put it into your life. You know what you want in the Three of Wands, and according to the Nine of Cups, you're going to get that gold and then some. Because let's be quite frank, with the Nine of Cups, it never was a card about one wish. It's a card about more than one wish. It's a card about you get your cake and eat it too. It's about your cup runneth over. These expressions from antiquity, which is depicted in this energy by a rather gluttonous and overbearing gentleman, which means he got more than his fill, right? He got more than his share. In a good way, though, within the upright position, it tells us that the thing that you wanted to have in your relationship is actually there for you to have. For those of you who are separated, this is the same thing. Look at the distance and the separation between him and his ship. Okay, you might have difficulties. You might be separated with a particular person, but the Nine of Cups gives the insinuation, especially in the upright position, that you can have what you want. You can have your gold. You can have your goal. I'm using the two interchangeably again to paint that picture for you, since that's what tarot is about. It is about painting the pictures of the symbols of life, and we can see the story in these two cards. You can have that gold. If your goal is to move together and to come into unity with a particular person, that's what you get with this energy in January. And I say that also knowing that the Four of Wands, which comes right after the Three of Wands, is the card of unity and harvest and abundance that comes with another person. So again, if you're separated from someone, it doesn't even look like you're waiting. It's like in January, you begin to see how to get your unity with this person. For those of you who are not in a relationship, but you've had your eye on someone, it's not about coming into full unity in this month, but the steps begin. And the reality that it's actually possible begin in this month for you. This comes in with the idea of someone communicating with you. And if maybe you're in the friend zone or something like that, you might have been waiting to hear from somebody, and suddenly they give you little blips of information that help you to understand that there really is a possibility of getting that gold on that ship there, or that goal of that person. That Nine of Cups in the upright speaks about how there really is a possibility for you in January to realistically get what it is that you want. In the reversal, that Nine of Cups would have been wishful thinking, a propensity towards being unrealistic. But in the upright and next to the Three of Wands, there is actually a good opportunity for you to unite with somebody, slowly but surely. And for those of you who are interested in a jump into the dating world, maybe you're not speaking to anybody and you've just decided that that's what you want to do. You want to bring love in. This is the planning phase in the month of January, but for some reason, there will be information that comes to you in January of 2026, which makes you see your outcome as possible. It lights you up with hope. The Nine of Cups means you're going to have hope bubbling up from you, where previously you might have thought you would be alone forever, or you just didn't have the energy to do it. That changes in January for you guys, apparently, according to this reading for Capricorns. January of 2026, the hope starts to show itself, and I think that that's lovely. Let me write now down. We are at the 8 minutes and 42 second mark here for February. Let's jaunt into the month of February, where we have an equally lovely energy. It is the Sun card. The Sun card is in the reversal position, but thankfully, the Sun card is one of those cards where whenever it's in the reversal and in the upright, it actually means the same thing, because it's one of the major arcana cards. It means news and information, and the path is being revealed to you. This is a time when information is going to be coming in. That's the main theme of February, is a learning dynamic, because you gain some kind of revelation. Now, the way the Sun card works, if you look at it this way, when the sun is up, in the real world, when the sun is outside, we can see everything that's in front of us. There's no question about the road and the street in front of us. When the moon, or we should say when the sun goes down into the reversal and the moon is up, it gets a little harder to see the road in front of you, right? You've got to use your lights on your car to see that pathway that much more fully. But we know that it's inevitable that when the sun is down, it's going to come back up. This is why this card becomes an energy for you. That revelation is on its way. It's a little bit of a delay, so if I had to take a little bit of a prediction here, as I do in tarot, it's kind of my job, I would say that it might be closer to the later part of January when some kind of information comes into you in the realms of love and dating that really helps you out. You could not get a better card with this, even in the reversal. These two cards, like I said, just like the Sun card. The Sun card in the upright and the reversal, still very good omen. In fact, it's the best omen when you get the Sun card in tarot. The Star card is the second card of wish fulfillment. We just saw that with the Nine of Cups. I'm telling you, Capricorns, if you have had a shitty year, this year looks so far very promising to turn that around. Especially right off the beginning phases of 2026. Now, the Star card was also in the reversal position. And again, the Star card is very favorable, even in the reversal. But what it usually means, if there is any negative connotation to it, it's not about negativity in the future. It's not negativity in the month of February. It means that in the present moment, you had a hopelessness. So the hopelessness is already in you. You're having to battle through that hopelessness. At this point in time, you might be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, is this ever going to change in my love life? With this person, if you're in a relationship, you might have been a little hopeless about it. If you are separated from someone, again, you might have been a little hopeless with the separation that you've had with a person. If you've been in a friend zone, a friendship dynamic, and you were wondering if this person was ever going to want to swing by your way, again, you might have felt very hopeless about it. The Star in the reversal is hopelessness with the promise that you did not actually have that much to be hopeless about. That's the key. Looking at the sun and the star, both of these celestial objects of the heaven, what do they do for you? Functionally speaking, when we interpret tarot or when we interpret dreams, when we interpret synchronicities, we always look at the symbol in its function. And as we mentioned with the Sun card, functionally, the sun lights the way. It reveals, it helps grow. And the stars, functionally, in history, were the navigation pieces for people to get back home. We didn't have maps the same way back then. 1,000 years ago when they were sailing the ocean blue, Christopher Columbus sails the ocean blue in 1942. And how did he do that? With navigation systems that were connected to the stars. The stars were your way to get to the goal. Remember, you see the pattern now? The pattern is unfolding, and this always happens in a yearly reading. We watch one month give us a little bit of a hint at how the rest of the year is going to go, and then we watch the patterns unfold when we get in the next month and the next month and the next month. And the same thing is happening here. We've got a card talking about how you see what your goal is, and the immediate card following it is that you receive the path of how to get there. It's freaking phenomenal. Those stars, just like a compass that you would see on the floors of an old mansion built 400 years ago, you might see a gigantic star in the shape of a compass. Why did they do that? Well, it's because the stars were the navigation pieces. Your North Star pointed you home. It's interesting that I use that word actually because it's got this feeling about coming back home. Coming back to the thing that, or the person that you were close to. For some of you in a relationship, that's your person. For those of you separated, again, that person that you are separated from felt like your home. For those of you who are in a friendship dynamic, this friend could be a very platonic energy where it's like someone who's close, like your home or your family. Not is your family, but you know when you're so close to somebody that it feels like their family? This is what I mean. The idea of feeling like you're coming home. And then for those of you who are not in a relationship and you don't have your eye on anybody, this is that dynamic in that month of February where you see the path to getting your goal. It reveals itself in January. You plan it out, in February. You plan it out in January. You actually see it. You see the plan unfolding in February is essentially the understanding. Now, let's progress into the month of March here at that 14-minute mark. Let's see what's happening in the month of March, our energy takes a bit of a shift, where what we have is the card of the Five of Cups. Five of Cups traditionally does have to do with a loss of some sort. And I'm going to pull out my extra clarification cards here because immediately, forgive my curiosity killed the cat here, but I am interested in knowing why you are concerned all of a sudden with some kind of a loss. So let's get a shuffle. Let's see what's going on. The Chariot in the reversal. The Chariot is the card of being on the path victoriously. So we have the card of planning the path, then we have the card of seeing the path, then we have the card of actually trying to be on the path, but there's a blockage of some sort. I'll pull one more card actually just to see why is it. So now we know why you're sad because the path gets blocked in March. And I want to know, like, why is it that the path just got blocked? What's that about? Is it you? Is it another person? King of Cups. There's a likelihood that this has to do with another person. With the other person. The other person might hold back a little bit, but the King of Cups is in the upright position, which I do really like. Maybe I'll pull one more energy for who the, if we, maybe we're going to get another court card, another person involved in this. Oh, it's the Star card. We pulled that one back out. Oh, that King of Cups feels hopeless. The other person in it. Okay, so you, in this month of March, you see the path. It's the other person who has to catch up with it. The other person doesn't quite see the path yet. I think it takes them a little bit of time where you start to see how this is going to unfold. The King of Cups all of a sudden is having to catch up a bit. They might not see the path so fully. They might also be concerned with some kind of a loss that they had. And that could be a number of losses. They could have had a loss in their financial life, in their household. Something could have given them a hiccup. And in this 1 month of March, all of a sudden, they're very focused on that. It's either you or another person. But the court card is here. And in history, Arthur Edward Waite, when he created that most famous Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he mentioned that the court cards are connected to people, the energy of people. So your page cards, your queens, your knights, and your kings typically are a person. So it's either you or that person all of a sudden kind of gets blocked up for some reason. And the reason that I said at first it could be business, it could be finances, is because most people do not realize this. People always attribute money to the Pentacles card, the King of Pentacles, just because it has a coin on it. But in Arthur Edward Waite's historical way, in the historical mystical way of dealing with tarot over 100 years ago, intelligence belonged to, drumroll please, the King of Pentacles, and law and fairness belonged to the King of Cups. People always think, oh, the King of Swords must be all about fairness, and that's the King of Cups. The King of Swords does have fairness to it, but he's militant. He's a military leader, right? The King of Cups isn't that military leader, but he's with fairness and balance, especially in business and law. It's very unique. I mean, these are kings after all. So it could be that there's a dynamic in the material world that blocks the situation a little bit. Not everything has to be blocked in life because somebody just doesn't want to be in love. Sometimes it's actually something in their life that has happened, and that's what I think happens in the month of March. But just like that, the energy for you kind of keeps going, doesn't it? Now that we go into, actually, just as a reminder, before we go into the month of April, for those of you who are not in a relationship, and you don't have your eye on anybody, it could be you who has a kind of hiccup that you're focused on, a little bit of a loss. It could be in something to do with business or law. But it could be whatever it is, it's in the suit of the cups, which means it emotionally riles you a bit. But if it's not another person's loss, then it can be a focus of a loss that you're on, but it gets resolved. As we go into the 19-minute and 20-second mark of this reading, look at what you have for the very next card. The Hierophant, the card of commitment. There's two ways about this, though. Okay, let's pull this extra card because we can look at the Hierophant in the modern sense. Modern tarot readers, all the 20 and 30 and 40 years olds out there, myself included, could look at this card like all the people on YouTube talk about. Oh, it's the card of commitment. It's a priest, and priests marry people together. That could be an interpretation of the card because it does depend on the intuitive reading. But historically speaking, the Hierophant was not about commitment to the correct thing. It was actually about commitment to the wrong thing. It was about commitment to a rigid, dogmatic way of thinking because it represented the Roman Catholic Church. And according to Arthur Edward Waite, there was more value in seeing these cards through the lens of medieval history. And in medieval history, the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church was, according to Christian mystics, due to be torn down because they were too rigid. They were too dogmatic. They were too much of like, you listen to my rules, this is how it's got to be. And so there was a lot of communities who were trying to tear out the power of the Pope card and replace it with the card of the High Priestess. Arthur Edward Waite specifically said, the High Priestess represents the true temple of God. The Hierophant and the Pope represents the mouthpiece of the Church of Rome, the Empire of Rome. And it was due for tearing down with the Tower card. So that's why there's two very distinct purposes that can come from this. But at the heart of them, even if on one end in modern tarot, people can believe this is a card about commitment, and on the other hand, people can believe it's a card about tearing things down. In both of those interpretations, there is one very important aspect, and it is the spiritual journey. Both meanings involve a transformation spiritually for the better and a commitment to that. So whether you're committing to a person and it spiritually lights you up, or whether you and a person are tearing down your old views and your old rules, it will still spiritually light you up. No way. No way. The Hierophant comes out again. Both of you. I'm telling you, for those of you who are single, you've already met somebody by this point. And both of you are tearing down the rigid rules. And both of you are looking to commit to one another. See how we could ask, is it one or the other? And the universe is like, baby, it's both. It's a mode of commitment with another person that actually spiritually uplifts you because you're tearing down the previous rules. And who was the card of the previous rules that we just saw? The King of Cups. Because what is he? He is the card of fairness in business and law. And what is business and law? That is the material rigidity of corporations and the world outside, the world of your school systems, the world of your court institutions. In business and law, the King of Cups reigns supreme, and the Hierophant, once it gets torn down, the power goes back into the hands of the spiritual side instead of an over focus on your house, your money, your finances, your status, your business, your legal. And because we've got the Hierophant twice, I think it's both of you who are about to go through this transformation. All of you guys are meeting somebody. All of you guys are dealing with coming together with someone. And both of you are going to learn the spiritual lesson of letting go of dogmatic rules. And what does that look like, by the way? I talk a lot here about, the church being torn down in history and dogma and rules. But if we take the story from the macrocosm of your life, the macrocosm of all of life, of the macrocosm of the whole heavens and all of ancient mythology, and we bring that down to the microcosm of your life, what does that look like? It typically looks like somebody who gave themselves a white picket fence of how they thought the world was supposed to go. And then for some reason in the month of April, they find out that those rules were incorrect. Someone said a relationship looks like this. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby and a baby carriage, then comes 401k, now it's our pension, now we move out into our vacation home. Sometimes people paint a picture like that and they think that's what relationships are about, and then the universe pulls it out from under you and says, silly rabbit, tricks are for chicks. No, it says, silly rabbit, silly people, these rules of the material world in relationships are a fallacy. And the spiritual world swoops in and gives you a better outcome than you even thought you could have. Maybe you go through a whirlwind romance in a way you never thought was possible because you were too busy thinking about the 401k and the house you wanted to build. Maybe somebody bumps into somebody out on an adventure of life and they really become friends with this person and marry their best friend, and they never saw it coming because they were so focused on how their rules of relationships were supposed to go, and then the universe pulls it out from under them. That is what it looks like when somebody's dogmatic rules gets torn down. Just as a heads up, though, as we move into the 25-minute mark to do the month of May, these cards are in the upright position, which means the rules of dogma are still here in the month of May, but they are being torn back. And that's what leads us to the next month. Watch this. Where the burden gets tumbled down. The Ten of Wands is suddenly here to say that the heavy burden that you have carried with all of these rules that you thought that you needed, something heavy gets put down. And I'd be one to bet that it's all of these little rules of anxiety that you have given yourself. And the universe is going to replace it with something that is less heavy, less burdensome. Let me pull out an extra clarification card here from the Dark Empath Tarot deck, and look what we have. The Militant Leader. The other card that I was talking about that had to do with militant intelligence. See that sword he has in his hand? It's the Sword of Justice. What was the Justice card always connected to? Institutions. Institutions of a court building, institutions of society, institutions of law. So the Ten of Wands is basically saying you are putting down the heavy energy that comes with the King of Swords. So we've got one card in the previous month that says something needs to be torn down. In the next month, we have it gets put down. This is for all of you, whether you're in a relationship, whether you are having your eye on someone that you've, at that point, recently come together with, or whether you were single and had a view of what relationships looked like, and then the universe comes in, brings someone into your life and totally shifts it. That's the dynamic. Things are getting shifted. Your view of your own outcome is about to change. And that brings me to one of my favorite cards in this reading so far. Capricorns, you have an amazing first half of 2026. Can we just say that? That brings us into the month of June at 27 minutes and 9 seconds. And guess what happens in the month of June? Good old victory card. The good old victory card. The Six of Wands is the card, much like the Chariot that we already saw that was in the reversal. That someone had the stumbling block, right? The Chariot card was when a person, usually an emperor, has won the battle and is now home on his chariot horse. He is going back home. He has already been announced as the winner. The Six of Wands is the same dynamic. The Six of Wands is victory. And in the case of the Six of Wands, it's also the card of recognition from the other person. Oh, look at what is sitting here at the bottom of the deck. I couldn't resist. It's the Lover's card. Victory in love. Oh, I love this for you guys. In the middle of June. Ooh, in the middle of June. What? There's two songs that are coming to my mind right now. One is Harvest Moon by Neil Young, about coming together with your love. And there is another one that I'm thinking of about... Under the Moon of June. There's another song, I can't remember it right now, but that's the key, right? Under the Moon of June, you have this coming home to your love energy, this victory. This is a wicked energy. I'm so happy for you guys. There's nothing else to say about that. For those of you who are single, you won't be. For those of you who are separated, you won't be. For those of you who are in a relationship and had difficulties, them difficulties are going to skedaddle right out the window. Let's just be frank about it. You have a winning energy for the month of June. And that pulls us now into the month of July, because it's just so straightforward. 28 minutes and 54 seconds in, when we go to the month of July, it's actually still continuing on a good energy. It's rare to have an entire year where you've got this much good energy one month after the next month after the next month. Something's got to give eventually, but it's not in the month of July, because in the month of July, suddenly you have the student to the teacher. This is the card with the Eight of Pentacles, or the Eight of Coins, where you are mastering something. You are taking your time to master something in the dynamics of love or in your life together with this person, looking at it for what it is, studying it, seeing how you can make things more beautiful, because you know what the next coin is, or the next card is, right? Abundance. It's the Abundance card. The 9 and 10 of Pentacles comes right after the 8 of Coins. And the fact that you're sitting with this dynamic is a beautiful reflection of how much abundance you have on the horizon later on in the coming months after July. It might not be right away because it's still at the 8. It takes a little time to get to the 9, takes a little time to get to the 10 as we go through lessons in life, but you're way over the halfway point with this person or with this relationship. Okay, so the Death card has come out as what it is you're mastering. You're mastering change and transformation. Wow. Maybe you guys had so much heartache in the past that you guys just did not think that this was possible. And now all of a sudden the change is here. Okay, let's grab another card. Let's get some more clarification about this. The Judgment in the reversal. So this is a shift, and this could be for your person too. Because what it is, it's mastering resistance. Like, there are certain avenues of you and the person that you are dealing with. I think you guys might be, it might be so good that it's almost too good to be true. Not that it's too good to be true, but that in your head you think it's too good to be true. Because for some reason, there's resistance. The Judgment in the reversal is being called. You're called to walk the spiritual path, in this case with someone. But in the reversal, you become resistant to walking that path because you think it's going to end with the Death card. You think that there's a transformation that at this point you've already been through it. Because it's interesting. It's interesting because the Death card means the ending is already there. And the Judgment card is when you've already gone through something and you're resisting against going through the next step. But we've seen so much positive cards here. So it makes me think it's not that there's an ending in the relationship. I mean, the main energy of the month is not endings. The main energy of the month is mastery. So again, it makes me think you've had so many endings in the past or difficulties with this person or separations that it's almost like you're afraid it's going to happen again. And you're having to master that. You're having to say to yourself, I'm in this relationship now. How do I not blow it? That's what it feels like. It feels like mastering, not blowing it. Mastering not keeping score, mastering not pressuring this person, mastering not being too anxious, right? Mastering resistance and just allowing yourself to go with the flow, go towards the calling, manifest some goodness. I'll pull one more clarification card because there's something that I just feel like my intuition is kind of holding on to as a possibility. I just want to see here for 1 second. What else do we get? The Seven of Wands. I think we're on the right note here. Because the Seven of Wands in the upright is you winning. So I say to myself, why are they so resistant? And again, everything we just spoke about, because it's too good to be true for them. They think it's not possible. They're in it now. Now they're united and they think something's going to go wrong because the Seven of Wands is when you have so much on your plate that you lose. But again, I'm not asking what's the event. We already have our event card. I'm asking why are they resistant? It's because in their mind, they think that there's something that's going to break. There's something that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And so they freeze up. And you know what? That brings us to the next energy because that next month that we're about to get into now, the month of August, it is a card of freezing up. Somebody struggles with the relationship, it being the relationship for them, and yet they freeze up for some reason. This is at the 34 minutes and 7 seconds mark. The month of August is somebody who's listening to their anxieties too much. That's what this is about. The Fool card is here. In the upright, the Fool is the one who listens to his heart. And he goes forward without freezing. You see, he's walking on a cliff. He could freeze any moment, right? He could choose not to walk off that cliff because he's afraid to take the steps forward, afraid he's going to fall, afraid he's going to lose, maybe afraid he's going to tumble into the cattails behind him. But the cool thing about this card is what you don't see as the viewer is that right below his feet are the other steps. That's why this card is about walking into the unknown and how it can make somebody frozen with what they can't see. But if they just keep walking, the path unfolds. If they keep following their heart, everything turns out. But in the reversal, they almost brace for impact. They start to get too anxious. They start to listen to the anxieties again, and they have to tackle that. And it's interesting because the next month is also about tackling that same thing. It's like being in a relationship dynamic and suddenly the person is mirroring you, which we did get the Hierophant twice. Remember, each of you are a mirror to one another. You mirror each other and you start to realize how much of the issues are actually a part of you. How much of your anxiety is actually getting in the way. And how badly you do not want that to be the case in the middle of a good year and a first good half of the year like this. Now with that Fool card in the reversal, the card of not listening to one's heart when they go on a new path, let me get an extra clarification card here. I knew it, man. Is it, see? Not going on the path to their most happiness because they're frozen up. There's doubts, there's negativities that do not need to be here. If you guys come to this point in August and you're like, you're with a person, but there's these anxieties in you, please come back to this reading so that I can remind you that your anxieties are not real. Okay, anxieties can be real, but these ones, there's a very high probability that you are bracing for impact when you don't need to be. And I would like to remind you of that now, because we do that a lot in life, okay? There are times when we, I'm going to give you a bit of a lesson, right? Where we, okay, put it this way. You know when we were kids and we wanted to go play at the park? If we were kids, did we brace for impact and say, oh no, I can't go to the park because I scuffed my knees last time? And we stop and we freeze and we don't go to the park? Or did we get up and we ran to that damn park because we love that park and we go for what it is that makes us happy? That's what we did. We didn't brace for impact and freeze up, you know, but yet we do that a lot when we're older. As we grow up into adults, we keep bracing for impact when something's not actually there to affect us. And I think this is the main energy of what's happening here in the month of August. And then as we get into the month of September, you still kind of have this dynamic here. But there is some kind of grief that's attached to this. Thankfully, the next months after are all about healing, guys. Okay? Because the Queen of Swords, she is the one who deals with loss. Now, for some of you, I do want to point out that although the main events did not show up as you having a loss or separating with someone, the Judgment card and the Death card that came up to explain when we tried to get a clarification on that previous month of, July? That Judgment card and that Death card are connected with endings or losses of some sort that are heavy enough to grieve over. And I think it might have been something that's not connected to the relationship. I think you might have in your past, or this person maybe in their past, dealt with such a huge loss that by the time you get into a relationship with them, they're still grieving that. Or you're still grieving the after effects of something that comes before this partnership. That there's still a trauma that's attached. And a need to not be resistant about the future based on the things that have defined you or that you have let define you in the past. Whether the Queen of Swords is in the upright or in the reversal, this can be a card of loss. And in the reversal, it can be a card of actual burial. So it could be something that someone has long since buried. That could be physically. And I say that because, you know, maybe there's a situation in someone's family. They lost a family member. Or it could be metaphorically, maybe somebody buried a part of themselves that they are just starting to get back. But whatever it is that feels like it's buried, they're grieving the loss of that. Sometimes that's even when people bury the loss of time. grieving the loss of who they were. Or maybe they set themselves up in finances and they put their whole life into it, a whole new career. And then they lost that and they begin to grieve it. It's almost like there's an external thing here that I think over these 2 months aren't about your relationship, but impact your relationship. The clarification card. It's the Page of Wands in the reversal. Really? What? That's a fantastic duplication to have together. Or not duplication, but a merging of 2 cards. Damn. Okay, we were on the right note here. My intuition is serving today. Because the Page of Wands in the reversal is an announcement that sucks. That's the card of a messenger. But in the reversal, it indicates a negative piece of news is going to be coming in. But again, it's an announcement from positions of like authority, from the creative world. The Page of Wands, the Wands deals with creativity. It's not like it's the Cups, an announcement in your love life, right? Or in the Swords or the Cups of like announcements with battle. It's the Wands. It's somebody who's like their identity was attached to this. There may be an announcement or news that comes in that shifts an individual and they kind of get rocked and wonder who they are. And now they're in a new relationship, but another part of their life is getting shaken up a bit. And it comes with news that abruptly shakes things. I do want to say though, what I really do like is that the Four of Swords is next to this card because the Four of Swords is the card of healing. But I also want to say, guys, I just need to put it out there. And I don't do health readings for people all that often because, especially if it's terminally related, I'll do regular health readings, but not ones that are like, is someone passing on? But the Four of Swords traditionally is a card of a cemetery, a tombstone, and the Queen of Swords is traditionally the one who buries somebody. So just putting it out there, the loss could be great enough that somebody for those 2 months is mourning an actual passing. That's only going to be for a few of you. Again, for those of you who don't deal with something that's been taken that's that heavy, then it's a metaphoric burial, but a huge healing process that's going to happen. Because that's what the Four of Swords does. The Four of Swords after the Three of Swords, like the Three of Swords is the infamous heartbreak card that people have where there's 3 swords stabbed into a heart, intense sorrow, right? So the situation can be pretty heavy. And the Four of Swords is supposed to be the windows beginning to air out and open for you once the heartbreak has already happened. But as you can see with the depiction of this person, they're very lethargic in this picture. They're very sapped for energy. They are needing rest. They are needing recalibration from whatever it is that happened in that previous month, whatever that loss was. Now, the other thing that I want to mention about the Four of Swords, when it's not symbolically connected to things like burials, that's a card that means investment, avarice, and economy. And I know everyone's like, what? Wouldn't that be the Pentacles? I'm telling you guys, the more you investigate into tarot, the more you guys will learn as a seasoned tarot reader that just because cards have a coin on it, like the Pentacles, the 9 of Pentacles, the 10 of, doesn't mean that it's always about money just because it has a coin on it. And the Four of Swords has a bunch of swords on it. And yet, this is a card historically that had to do with economy and avarice. So for those of you who are not burying something physically or having a loss that's that heavy, maybe an aunt or a grandma passing on, for those of you who are not dealing with that, I'm telling you, someone is burying a part of their identity and it's connected to institutions. A person could have had a job. A person could have had an education that they wanted to go for or a career that they wanted to go for. And in the middle of the year, well, actually, this is September. This is the beginning of the next year. Some people, it's going to be connected to education because it's September. When people traditionally go into a next semester, it seems like somebody is burying a part of their identity that's connected to avarice and the material world. Four of Swords is a card of avarice. And what is avarice? It is one of the 7 deadly sins connected to a love or a lust or covetousness of money. That people always say, what is it? That the love of power, what's the biggest evil in the world? Is it the love of money, or is it, the you know that expression, power that gets money, whatever the case is? That's the center concept of what avarice is about. And I think somebody's got something heavy with institutional or societal things or money that happens, and they're having to bury a part of themselves like that, and it really bothers them. And now, 45 minutes in and 4 seconds as we go into the month of October, I am not surprised to see this next one at all, because what is this? The Justice card. Didn't I mention earlier that the Justice card is the card of institutions? We got the Hierophant card, which was about dogma and tearing down a person's belief. And right after we have cards of institution and economy and having to heal oneself, suddenly we have the Justice card. And what is the Justice? I said it earlier today. It is court buildings, legal buildings, justice institutions including school that have to do with rules and regulations. The Justice card is now here. Somebody may be dealing with a legal situation in their life. They were healing from it. They are mourning from it. But I really like that this is in the upright position in the month of October, because it insinuates that the situation is getting its balancing at that point in time in October. See, Death card just came back out. I told you, it wasn't an ending in the relationship. This is what the ending was. Somebody's burying an avenue of themselves connected to institutions. And Capricorn, that's what you guys do. You guys are the card of institutions. You're Capricorns. You're connected to the Cronus energy. Right? And when I say Cronus, I mean Greek mythology, time, Saturn, the one who's in charge of shifting entire economies and institutions. And here we have this Death card connected to that. We saw the Death card come up earlier, and I was wondering, what was it that had ended? And this is it. It seemed like an external thing. It definitely was an external thing. But here's the thing about the Death card in the reversal. Again, it is about resistance. Now, the Judgment card that we got earlier, like I said, that was resistant to someone's path, resistant to the calling. And then we got that card of somebody who was resistant to changing their path with the Fool card right here. This, I would say, in October, if the Death card was the main event, then I would say that by the time they get to October, you or them, whoever is the resistant one, by the time, I'm sorry, are we doing November is what we're doing at this point now, because we're at the Justice card. I'm just retracing my thing here, because look at, see how I write down your timestamps? I'm just kind of looking at this and I was like, why do I feel like I missed a month? I'm talking about October, but I just pulled out Justice card for November. So just a reminder, if I went and said October again, Justice card is the month of November. July, August, September, October is the healing. November is the Justice. Okay, getting back to what I was saying. I just didn't write down November, I suppose. And I will put that at the 46 minutes, 59 seconds. Write it down on my book here. Getting back to what I was saying before, I just realized I forgot to write that down. If the event was happening in the month of November, the Death card, I would say that the person is still resistant to the change, to the new path. But because the theme of that month is justice and balancing, then what I think is happening is in November, justice and balancing is occurring about the thing that they were previously resistant to, which shifts them into more of a acceptance of the new path. They are getting a balance about how they were previously resistant. Now, I also want to say, because Capricorns, like I said, you guys are very Saturnian. You're very Cronus, very time energy, right? Those big shifts in life. And you guys have had heavy astrological energy for the last couple of years. It's been nuts with the Saturn Capricorn connections. I will say that when you or your person go through this in one area of your life, it will impact the other areas of your life. So a person who becomes more accepting of paths and not being so resistant, when they practice it in one area, guess where that's going to show up? In your love life. they all of a sudden start to open themselves out about the resistance that they had, the anxiousness, the bracing for impact that they had in your love life because they're practicing it in one of the other areas. That is a function that humans do, by the way. If you don't have a practice ground to do in real life, the universe will find a way for you to practice it. Hell, you can even practice it in your dream state. If you don't have another person to practice safety with, sometimes you'll dream about safety as a way for the body to actually experience something and practice it. And that's what it looks like is happening. It looks like in one dynamic of life, you or your person is about to practice a very external, anxiety-based situation that can lead you to becoming more acceptant. And then once you or your person becomes more acceptant, they end up doing that in the relationship as well. And that leads us to the last month. This is now at the 50-minute mark. Let me write it down and not forget. In the month of December, you guys have your reading is phenomenal, Capricorns. You guys deserve it. The last month is the World card. And the World card means something is going to continue. It's the card of redoing a cycle or a lesson, which could be about how this person has to, or you, whoever it is, how they have to brace for impact. Less, how they have been reacting in life because they brace for impact so much, or how resistant they've had to be. I'm going to shuffle though, and I'm going to see what is it that's kind of going to keep going. What's this new cycle? Well, not new cycle. What's this redone cycle? What's this new part of an old cycle? That's what the World card is about. Wow. Wow. The card of the great feast of celebration and abundance. 8 of Cups is when you walk away from something in the upright, even in a modern interpretation. Yep. When a tarot reader says it's about walking away in the upright and it's about coming back in the reversal. Well, in the reversal, which you got it in, even Arthur Edward Waite said over 100 years ago, this is the card of great joy and abundance. It is the card of the feast of the abundance. Where do you have a big celebration with a bunch of cups on a table in history, guys? Where was that? That was when your king was so victorious that he gathered everybody together to unite, and you had a huge celebration of great joy. A redo in great joy. This person or you are about to realize that when things look like they were shaken up in the end, and I'm here to say it again, come back to this video and I will tell you, you did not have as much to worry about as you thought, or this person did not have as much to worry about. You have a beautiful unity and end to your 2026. You get another shot, the redo of the World card. You get another shot at happiness. And the word is that Arthur Edward Waite used, great joy. Not just little joy, not just happiness, great joy was his expression. I am going to leave it off like that, you guys. That was a beautiful reading for your full 2026. If you guys are ever interested in having your own private 12-month reading or even a 6-month reading, you can always get a hold of me in the description below or the bio above. I love doing these readings. And if you're ever interested in just hanging out, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm the only Linny D who has green hair in her profile picture, so you can always find me over there. And if you ever want some of my free readings, that's over on Clapper and TikTok right now. There are already months, the month of January is already up. And so I will leave you off with that. Thank you very much, and ciao for now.